I'm your host, Jack Henry.
And I'm your co-host, Sarah Henry. We're really happy to have you with us today.
Yes, thank you for joining us. This podcast is all about helping you improve your English in a simple, relaxed, and natural way.
Exactly. We want you to feel comfortable listening to real conversations while learning useful English at the same time.
Now, Sarah, today's episode is a very special one because we're talking about something that every language learner wants to know.
That's right. Today's topic is the secret to learning new vocabulary very fast.
Yes, learning new words faster and remembering them longer. I think that's a dream for many English learners.
A lot of people study vocabulary every day, but they still forget the words very quickly.
So today, we're going to talk about why that happens and what you can do to learn vocabulary in a smarter way.
We'll share simple methods, easy examples, and practical tips that you can start using today.
And don't worry, this episode is not about difficult grammar or complicated rules.
No, not at all. It's going to be a friendly conversation, just like always.
So let me ask you a question, Sarah.
Okay, go ahead.
Why do you think some people can learn new words so fast, while others struggle to remember even a few?
That's a great question. I think it's not about intelligence, it's more about how they learn, not how much they study.
That's a very interesting point, and that's exactly what we're going to explore in today's episode.
So if you want to improve your vocabulary and speak more confidently, stay with us.
All right, let's get started.
Let's do it.
So, Sarah, before we go deep into today's topic, let me ask you something. Do you remember when you were learning new vocabulary as a student?
Oh yes, I remember it very well. I used to write long lists of words in my notebook and try to memorize them.
Same here. I had pages and pages of vocabulary lists.
And did it work for you?
Honestly, not really. I could remember the words for one day, maybe 2 days, and then I forgot most of them.
Exactly. That was my problem too. I spent so much time memorizing, but when I wanted to speak, the words just disappeared from my mind.
I think many of our listeners can relate to that.
Yes, because learning vocabulary can feel very frustrating. You study hard, but you don't see fast results.
And sometimes you know the word when you read it, but you can't use it in a sentence when you speak.
That's a very common problem. You recognize the word, but you don't really own the word.
That's a good way to say it. You don't really own the word yet.
Right, and another problem is that many people feel bored when studying vocabulary.
True. Just looking at a list of words is not very exciting.
So today, we want to show our listeners that learning vocabulary doesn't have to be boring or difficult.
Yes, and more importantly, we want to show them how to learn words in a faster and smarter way.
Because the goal is not just to know more words.
But to actually use them in real conversations.
Exactly.
So in the next part, we're going to talk about something very important. Why vocabulary is such a key part of learning a language.
And how it can change the way you speak and understand English.
All right, let's move on to that.
Let's do it.
So, Sarah, let's talk about something basic but very important. Why do you think vocabulary is such a big part of learning a language?
Well, because without words, you really can't say anything. You might know grammar rules, but if you don't know the words, you can't make sentences.
That's true. Grammar is like the structure of a house, but vocabulary is like the bricks.
I like that example. Without bricks, you can't build the house.
Exactly. And vocabulary helps you in every skill: speaking, listening, reading, and writing.
For example, when you listen to English, if you know more words, you understand more of the message.
And when you read, You don't have to stop every second to check the dictionary.
Yes, that makes reading more enjoyable and less stressful.
What about speaking?
Speaking is probably the biggest one. When you don't know enough words, you feel stuck. You know what you want to say in your mind, but you can't express it.
That can be very frustrating.
It is, and it can make people feel shy or afraid to speak.
But when your vocabulary grows, something changes.
Yes, you feel more confident. You can explain your ideas more clearly. You can tell stories, give opinions, and ask better questions.
And I think vocabulary also helps with pronunciation and fluency.
How so?
When you know a word well, you know how it sounds, how it is used, and where it fits in a sentence. That makes your speech more natural.
That's a good point. It's not just about knowing the meaning of a word, but knowing how to use it in real life.
So, learning vocabulary is not just about memorizing words.
It's about building your ability to communicate.
And that's why today's topic is so important.
Yes, because if people learn vocabulary in the right way, they can improve much faster.
And that brings us to the main question of today's episode.
What is the secret to learning new vocabulary very fast?
Exactly. In the next part, we're going to talk about how the brain actually learns new words.
And why some methods work better than others.
All right, let's move on to that.
Let's go.
All right, Sarah, now it's time to talk about the big secret.
Yes, the part everyone is waiting for.
So, what do you think is the secret to learning new vocabulary very fast?
I think the secret is this. We don't learn words best by memorizing them alone. We learn words faster when we connect them to something meaningful.
That's exactly right. The brain loves connections.
Yes, it remembers stories, emotions, pictures, and experiences much better than just isolated words.
For example, if I tell you the word beach, what do you imagine?
I imagine the sea, the sand, the sun, and maybe a vacation.
Right. You don't just think of the word, you think of a place, a feeling, and a memory.
And that's why it's easy to remember that word.
But if I give you a random word with no context, like abundant, it's harder to remember.
Unless you connect it to a sentence or a situation like, there is abundant food at the party.
Exactly. Now your brain has a picture and a meaning.
So the big secret is that words should not be learned alone.
They should be learned with a situation, a sentence, a story, or a feeling.
Another important thing is repetition, but not boring repetition.
Right. Not just reading the same word again and again.
But seeing and using the word in different places. In a podcast, in a movie, in a conversation, in a sentence you create.
That makes the word stronger in your memory.
And there is also emotion.
Emotion?
Yes, if a word is connected to something funny, surprising, or personal, you remember it better.
That's true. For example, if you learn the word embarrassed after a funny mistake, you will probably never forget it.
Exactly.
So the secret is not studying harder,
But studying smarter.
connecting words to real life,
Using them instead of just memorizing them.
and understanding how your brain works with language.
So now that we know the secret, the next question is,
How can we use this secret in a practical way?
yes. In the next part, we'll talk about the first method, learning words in context.
Let's do that.
Let's move on.
So, Sarah, let's talk about our first method for learning vocabulary faster.
Method number 1. Learn words in context.
And by in context, we mean learning a word inside a sentence or a real situation, not alone on a list.
Right. For example, instead of just learning the word delicious, you learn it in a sentence like, "This pizza is delicious."
Now you know when and how to use the word.
Exactly. You can imagine the pizza. You can imagine yourself saying that sentence.
Let's take another word. Recommend.
If you just memorize recommend, it's not very useful.
But if you learn, I recommend this movie, or can you recommend a good restaurant?
Now the word has a purpose.
And your brain understands it better.
This is why reading and listening are very powerful for learning vocabulary.
Because you see words in real sentences.
Yes, books, podcasts, videos, and conversations all give you context.
And when you meet a new word, you should ask yourself, how is this word used?
Not just, what does this word mean?
Exactly. Look at the words around it.
Look at the situation.
And try to make your own sentence with it.
That's very important. Making your own sentence helps you own the word.
Let's do a quick example.
Okay?
The word is confident.
All right. My sentence is, I feel confident when I speak English with my friends.
Good one. My sentence is, she is confident because she practices every day.
So now we didn't just learn the word confident,
We learned how to use it.
and that makes it easier to remember.
So if you're listening right now, try this. When you learn a new word today,
Don't write it alone,
write it with a sentence.
and maybe even 2 sentences.
That's method 1.
And in the next part, we'll talk about method 2, using the word immediately.
Let's move on to that.
Let's go.
Now let's talk about method 2.
Method 2 is very simple but very powerful. Speak the word immediately,
A lot of learners read new words,
but they never say them out loud.
and that's a big mistake.
Yes, because your brain learns better when you see, hear, and say a word.
It's like training a muscle,
If you never use the muscle, it stays weak.
but when you use it, it gets stronger,
So when you learn a new word, you should say it out loud.
even if you are alone.
You can talk to yourself.
You can look in the mirror and make a sentence.
Or you can record your voice on your phone.
Let's do a small example.
Okay.
The new word is improve.
All right. I will make a sentence. I want to improve my English speaking skills.
Good. My sentence is, she is trying to improve her vocabulary every day.
Now, we didn't just read the word,
We used it.
and that helps our memory.
Another good idea is to use new words in short conversations.
Yes, like role playing.
For example, I can say, I feel nervous before an exam.
And I can answer, don't worry, you will do great.
We used the words nervous and worry in a natural way.
This makes learning more active.
And active learning is faster than passive learning.
So, if you're listening right now, here is a small challenge for you.
When you learn one new word today,
Say it in at least one sentence,
out loud.
not only in your head.
That's method 2.
And now it's time for method 3, reviewing words in a smart way.
Let's talk about that.
Let's move on.
Now we come to method 3, and this one is very important.
Yes, because learning a word one time is not enough.
Exactly. If you don't review a word, your brain will slowly forget it.
That's normal. It happens to everyone.
So the key is not to review more.
But to review in a smarter way.
For example, many people try to review all their words in one long study session.
And that can feel tiring and boring.
Also, the brain doesn't like to study for many hours at once.
It prefers short and regular review.
So a good system is something like this. You review a new word after 1 day,
Then, after 3 days,
and then after 1 week,
this helps move the word from short-term memory.
to long-term memory.
And that means you will remember it for a longer time.
Another good idea is to change the way you review.
Yes, don't always review the same way.
Sometimes you can. Read the word, sometimes say it, sometimes write a sentence, sometimes hear it in a podcast or video,
This keeps your brain active.
and it makes learning more interesting.
What about flashcards?
Flashcards can be very useful if you use them correctly.
How?
Not just word and translation.
But word and sentence.
Yes, for example, front of the card, confident. Back of the card, I feel confident when I speak English.
That's much better than just writing the meaning.
Also, it's good to review old words, not only new ones,
Because many people always study new words.
and forget the old ones.
So balance is important.
A few new words
And a few old words.
every day.
So method 3 is simple.
Short review
Regular review.
and different ways of review.
That's how you keep words in your memory.
And in the next part, we're going to talk about common mistakes that learners make when studying vocabulary.
Yes, so you can avoid those mistakes.
Let's move on.
Let's go.
Now, Sarah, let's talk about some common mistakes people make when learning vocabulary.
Yes, because sometimes the problem is not effort.
It's the method.
Exactly. One very common mistake is trying to learn too many words at one time.
For example, learning 50 new words in 1 day.
That sounds impressive.
But most of those words will be forgotten very quickly.
It's better to learn fewer words and really understand them,
Maybe 5 or 10 words a day.
and use them in sentences.
Another mistake is learning words but never using them,
Yes, people write them in a notebook.
and then close the notebook and forget them,
Words need to be used.
just like muscles.
If you don't use them, they become weak.
Another mistake is being afraid to make mistakes.
Yes, many learners think, what if I say the word wrong?
But mistakes are part of learning.
If you never make mistakes, you probably never try.
And trying is how you improve.
Another problem is learning words without pronunciation.
That's a big one.
People know how to read the word,
But they don't know how to say it.
so when they speak, they avoid the word.
That's why listening and repeating is important.
So to summarize the mistakes, learning too many words at once, not using the words, being afraid of mistakes, ignoring pronunciation.
If you avoid these mistakes,
You will already be learning faster.
and now let's do something fun and practical.
Yes, in the next part, we'll do a quick practice session.
So you can try learning new words right now.
Let's do it.
All right, now it's time for a short practice session.
Yes, this is where you can learn some new words with us.
We will give you 3 words,
We'll explain them simply.
and then we'll use them in sentences.
And if you're listening, try to repeat after us.
Okay, let's start with the first word.
Word number 1. Focus.
Focus means to give your full attention to something.
For example, I need to focus when I study English.
My sentence is, it's hard to focus when there is a lot of noise.
Now your turn, listener. Try to make your own sentence with focus.
All right, let's move to the second word.
Word number 2. Habit.
A habit is something you do again and again, almost automatically.
My sentence is, reading every day is a good habit.
And mine is, she has a habit of listening to English podcasts every morning.
Now you try to make a sentence with habit.
Okay, last word.
Word number 3. Improve.
To improve means to get better.
My sentence is, I want to improve my vocabulary this year.
And my sentence is, practice will help you improve your speaking skills.
Great job!
So, with these 3 words,
You saw how we explain the meaning, use them in sentences, and practice them.
this is a simple way you can learn new words every day,
Just a few words,
used in a real way.
and that's much better than memorizing long lists.
Now, before we finish, let's give our listeners some final motivation.
Yes, let's do that in the next part.
Let's move on.
Let's go!
So, Sarah, before we end today's episode, let's give our listeners some final advice.
Yes, because learning vocabulary can feel difficult sometimes.
But it doesn't have to be stressful.
The most important thing is to be patient with yourself.
You don't need to learn hundreds of words in 1 week.
Small steps every day are much better than big steps once a month.
If you learn just 5 new words a day,
That's already 35 new words in 1 week.
and over time, that becomes hundreds of words.
Another important thing is to enjoy the process.
Yes, try to learn words from things you like.
Movies, music, podcasts, or books.
When learning is fun, your brain remembers more easily.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Mistakes mean you are trying.
And trying means you are learning.
So remember today's main idea,
The secret is not learning harder.
but learning smarter.
Learn words in context
Use them immediately.
and review them in a smart way.
If you do these 3 things,
Your vocabulary will grow faster than you expect.
and your confidence will grow too.
So keep going
Keep practicing.
and believe in yourself.
All right, now it's time for our final part.
Yes, let's move to the outro.
All right, everyone, that brings us to the end of today's episode of the Easy Conversation podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Today, we talked about the secret to learning new vocabulary very fast.
We shared why vocabulary is important.
And we explained 3 simple methods: learning words in context,
Using them immediately.
and reviewing them in a smart way,
We also looked at common mistakes.
and practiced some new words together.
We hope you found this episode helpful and motivating.
If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to like the video
Subscribe to the channel,
and share it with someone who is learning English.
and we would love to hear from you.
Yes, write a comment and tell us, what new word did you learn today?
Or tell us, what is your favorite way to learn vocabulary?
In our next episode, we'll talk about another useful topic to help you improve your English.
So make sure you stay with us.
Until next time, this is Jack Henry.
And Sarah Henry.
Thank you for listening. See you in the next episode.